So I think I finally figured out how to get my phone to film in horizontal and show in horizontal so that you're not stuck looking at this tall, skinny, weird image constantly. However, my space is a little bit cluttered still, and my arm that's holding my phone is really not easy to move. So I kind of had to shift some things, and I'll be working sort of askew. So if you have any sort of OCD that requires you to be able to see things all nice and neat and in order, lined up, this may be one you want to skip. So let's see here. I've got that set up. Once again, I am live on Twitch and YouTube. So you can follow me at either of those places if you wanted to see other videos. This is my third attempt at live streaming, my second one that should actually be on YouTube and will be saved there later. And today we are going to be talking about alcohol ink. So the last stream I did, which again you can see on YouTube, I did as part of it an unboxing of a whole bunch of new supplies that I got. And so today I'm going to use a bunch of those supplies, including this really cool board. It's essentially a glass board, but it's got all these kinds of measurements on it and different little grid there. It also comes with another piece that you can put on top here that has a different texture to it for using some other different types of crafts. But this is from Tonic Studios. You can get other types, but I was being a big nerd and watching a Tim Holtz video, and he had this, and the way that he used it I thought was just fantastic, and so I had to go get myself one. This is the travel version. I figured I didn't need the super big one because I'm still just doing small things for now, and it's not exactly cheap. So I decided to just get the travel one, which is actually quite perfect for my needs and for my table right now. Other than that, it's going to be essentially a Ranger Ink Products kind of a day. They are not paying me in any sort of way. I am not an affiliate, but they have a lot of good stuff in their store. So like I said, I bought a bunch of it, had a big delivery. I had a couple of other things on hand as well. And so I'm just going to use this and play with this kind of stuff. So I have, again, if you saw the unboxing, I got this cool little case to hold my alcohol inks. So this is all the ones that I have right now. And I've got them semi-ordered. These are just sort of the regular ones. These three here are pearl type. And then these two are different metals. This one is the mixative, and this one is an alloy. Both are kind of silver because that's kind of my thing. And then this one here is what they call alcohol lift ink. So this lets you lift the ink, like it says, off of the page. So I'll show a little bit of that as well. So I'm just going to throw those over there. And I have no idea what colors. Well, I know I'm going to start with some purples, but yeah. So I have some other just UPO sheets. Today I'm going to try out this alcohol ink cardstock that I got in my Ranger delivery. So get this crack open, and maybe I'll just take out a couple right now. Let's just start with 3. So I haven't even actually looked at these yet. So these are definitely different than the UPO. The UPO is the same on both sides. It's a plasticky kind of paper and non-porous, so you can use either side of it. This cardstock is, as it says, alcohol ink cardstock, but it also says gloss cardstock, and that's the key there. This side is gloss. I don't know if you can see from me the light hitting off of it. This side is not. So we don't want to be working on this side with the alcohol ink. It's not going to spread and do its magic. On that side, we want to be using this side here. And I just realized one of the things I did not get out was a plethora of paper towels. Always good to have some things to wipe your hands on and just keep a couple of things clean, but also when you have alcohol going to the edges of your paper, it's sometimes good to be able to sort of dab it onto paper towel to let some of the excess ink run off. So I'm just going to throw some of those over there. And I just moved the thing, but I think you can still see all the right things. Perfect. So before I knock something over and spill again, I'm going to close my big bottle of rubbing alcohol, but I'm using 99% isopropyl alcohol. Got this at Costco. I have added some of that alcohol into the squirt bottle here, and because I'm a bit of a nerd, I have some in a smaller squirt bottle with kind of a smaller hole, and I've got some in this mister. And because I just got this, I got some, put some into this little baby mister as well. So I have misters, I have squirters, I have all the things. And one of the other things I have on hand right away is some hand sanitizer in gel form. Again, when I was watching Tim's video, he used this to clean off his glass plate for the alcohol. And it worked really, really well. So I figured he knows what he's doing. I will do the same unless I find something that works differently for me. So we will start with testing out one of these awesome blender tools that I mentioned last time that I got. So this is just, it's a little kind of like a stampy thing, but it's got Velcro on the end. And then we've got these pre-formed felts. So we just pop that on there. And then we can choose a couple of different inks. So right now I'm going to stick to regular inks, and we all know I'm going to go for a purple first. Should we see what all the different purples look like? I mean, why not, right? I mean, those two are purple. This one is wild plum. And I think I have something pinkish. That's orange. Crimson could be good. Let's just start with those three for now. I mean, you don't need anything crazy. And actually, now that I say that, we're going to pick one of these. Let's go with that one. So I'm just going to move these over here for now. And actually, because I'm using this and I want you to see how it really works, I'm going to use some different colors. So we've got purple or amethyst. This one is aquamarine. And I think we will actually continue to use the wild plum. That should be good. And because I did not plan any of this ahead of time, these are going to need to be cut open, I think. I suspect, well, let's see. I don't think I've actually used any of my Ranger inks yet. So, oh, no, these ones are actually already open. So we can squirt a little bit on there of that. And then, or maybe I used that one already. Who knows? Let's find out. Oops, nope. These just all come out. So already we've got a spell, which should just get into the wood there, but I don't want it necessarily coming right off of my hands anytime soon. And then we get some of this wild plum. It doesn't have to go in any order or any particular, way. So that's kind of hard to tell because these are all kind of dark. But we've got the three different colors there. And then what I'm going to do is just start stamping around. And you can see, and I don't have a lot of ink put onto these, so it's going to be a hit and miss and sort of feel to see how it works. And now my felt is coming off. But you can see it's almost like we're stamping the color on, and we can just keep doing that as much as we want. So, I mean, that in itself is a pretty cool background if you were trying to just make a background for something for a card or stamp it onto some plain paper for wrapping paper or whatever you want. And you can see like it's going to cover over. The different colors will go over top and they'll start reacting to each other. But another way that we can get them to start reacting is with either alcohol or blending solution. I'm going to go the blending solution route first. And actually, I haven't used this yet either. It does not say to shake. It doesn't look like it needs to be shaken. So I'm just going to put that down and open this up. And you can see we've got yet another little fine tip, which doesn't look like it needs to be opened. And perhaps I will pour this not over top of my picture yet, but just squirting a bit on there. And you can already see how it's like changing and sort of clearing up some of the ink on the stamper. But if we just sort of stamp this on here now, it's going to also start reacting and making things move around. And apparently I don't stamp straight because my felt keeps coming off. So that's one way to kind of do things, get things going. Actually, I've got a little bit fill in here. So, and you can see like if I stamp onto here, it does it in as well. But I can blend from there, do different things. So that's kind of fun. I don't love it. And we're just playing anyways. So what I'm going to do next is squirt some alcohol on here. And you can see, so like the blending solution allows you to, especially if we were to, let me do this first. If we were to put a bit of blending solution on here, and if we just sort of watch for a sec, you can see how it starts to sort of make it reacts with the ink. And we can take, I've got my little air squirter here. We could squirt a little bit, and so you can kind of see how it's kind of lifted, not lifted, but sort of it's made it, reacted with the ink there and made it more liquidy so we can blow it around. I'll show you this again on just plain so you can see it, but that's one thing that we can do. So I'm going to do something similar, but this time, so you can see when I did that, that kept a lot of the color was still there. If I put just alcohol on here, it's going to do something similar, but it's going to lift, and you can see, well, I put a lot more on, but you can see how it's already moving really quickly, and it's just kind of diluting everything as it goes, picking up all of the different color. So what we could do, you know, and I've only done alcohol ink stuff a couple of times, but one of the fun things is it's never finished until you say it's finished, and even then it may not be finished. So I like to just play around with it a whole bunch until it does something I like. So I like sometimes squirt the whole thing with alcohol, and you can like run it around. It's actually just kind of giving it a, actually kind of just has like a clear look over it, like it's got plastic, but that's because the alcohol is going to, what's it called? The alcohol is just spreading out. It still needs to dry. But, and this is where I said, like, if we have a paper towel, it'll soak up some of that color down at the bottom. And you can see, because we've used the alcohol, how the color is actually sort of fading from some of these spots a little bit more. And I think because I put the ink down first, it's actually staying pretty good on the paper. If we were to take, let's see here, here's one of my, if we just took, actually like a Q-tip even, and started kind of moving it around, it's not doing a lot, I think partially because of that alcohol. But you can see, actually this is really weird. I haven't worked with this cardstock, so it's kind of almost part of the gloss now. I think that's mostly because we dabbed it right onto here rather than having an alcohol base already down, so it sort of does get right in a little bit. But that's kind of cool, and even though we've got this sort of like hideous blob here, we could always you know, cover over it with a couple more splotches, same over here, and we've kind of gone right back to, you know, the same sort of thing that we had in the beginning before I started to mess with it. I'm going to put that one to the side and just let it, I think it's pretty much finished drying. So I might use the alcohol lift on that and see if it works. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up just a little bit. Like I said, like I don't want that sticking around. I'm going to throw this this felt out of the way as well. And I'm just going to clean up this section a little bit. So all he does is throws a little bit of this on and get a little bit of, let's just get a big towel. And that should clean it right up pretty quick. Yeah. Beautiful. Nice when you don't have stains. I should mention also these are alcohol inks, so they do contain alcohol, and we are working with rubbing alcohol in high percentages as well. So I am not too concerned for myself, but as a health and safety precaution, you know, use your common sense. If you may be in a situation where it would make sense for you to wear a mask, a ventilator of some sort. But definitely you want to work in a well-ventilated space if you can. Alcohol ink gets on your fingers pretty good too. So, and sometimes, let's see if this will work. Sometimes putting alcohol in it, if you're doing it really, really early, will help. But yeah, that kind of helps. Just the hand sanitizer again. I'm probably gonna have slightly dyed fingers for a day or two, but I mean, you can tell I'm not like fancy. I don't really have anywhere I need to go where I can't be slightly colored. So that's not a problem for me. And so this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put, let's see, how are we going to do this? Let's do a couple things. Let's try, there's one thing that I keep wanting to try and I keep screwing it up. So let's see if I can get it right this time. It's to like sort of squirt a little bit of color along the side, kind of up above. Oh, just spilt. And then, see, it's already kind of screwing up on me. And then you let it drop, or you don't let it drop, but you blue there still. Yeah, I can't do this thing right. So the idea and what I've seen is that you put a bunch of lines of the alcohol right on the page, and then you hold the paper up so that they drip down. You have all these cool drip things, kind of like those crayon things that were really popular for a little while. And you would line up all the crayons and then you would apply heat to them and melt them and they would drip down. So it was a really cool look where you'd have all these colors across and have just these lines going down. I have yet to actually master that technique, so I'm not going to worry about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, this cardstock behaves a lot differently than what I'm used to with the Yuko. So I'm just going to throw alcohol all the way across here, and you'll see it's going into that other ink, but not really. And let's see, is it going to actually, yeah, it's kind of spreading right out. You can see it's kind of starting to bleed the alcohol. I'm going to drop, ooh, I feel like there's a lot of alcohol in here. But yeah, as you can swish it around and you can see the color coming off. That's still quite a bit of alcohol. So yeah, with the alcohol though, we can drop a couple things, and I'm going to need to flatten this paper for next time. But if you drop, and let's do this one, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit whatever. So you can see it's sort of moving around, interacting with each other, getting different things. Again, we could get the blower out, we could manipulate it, and you get some neat patterns. If we wanted to have the blue over there, we could do that. If we wanted to sort of expand out, there's different, you can go harsh or you can kind of go softer. It's got a lot of this purple just kind of going everywhere. So do this. It's got a lot there. I'm going to turn this around. So you could use just your mouth to blow or a straw, but one thing to know when you do that is, even though you can't see it, there's little particles, like your breath is humid, right? It's got some particles of water, wet in there, and so that's gonna show up as little spots on your actual painting as well. So just something to keep in mind if you do decide to blow. I mean, there's some like little bits you can see that's just from the way that the dye settles and that kind of thing, I think. But you would have some really pronounced spots that you can't really do much about with using your breath in any shape or form. So these, any kind of thing that pumps air for you is kind of ideal. So another thing I want to show you is, so like this part here, you can see how that's where the alcohol part sort of stopped, and we get that kind of fine, thin line where the ink starts to sort of pile up together. That's not a great term, but anyways, and you can tell this is where the alcohol was and this is where the alcohol wasn't. So I'm going to take a completely different color. I'm going to take a light color. I'm going to take yellow just so that it's easy to see. And I'm going to drop some, that's what I wanted. I got it right on so that it was on both. Holy, that one really made a mess on my hands. So you can see it's actually combined with the blue to make green, and it started to, like, it reactivated the dry ink here that we just dripped right on and was able to use that. But then it stopped right there where it hit up against the other one. So it's really neat to sort of see how all these things come into effect with each other. And then another thing that you can do is, so we've got this section here. I'm just going to double check that it's mostly dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test out my fancy new little mini mister. I already took the lid off, so I don't know why I'm trying to take the lid off. And if I just spritz, eventually you can see how all of those little droplets of alcohol are starting to affect what we've got happening here. And of course, they're not going to stay nearly like things, as it's dry, moves out. So you may not get the full effect that you want, but it's a good way to just kind of get a little bit going on. I'm going to choose my bigger mister now and just sort of, that was really close. I could go from back here and spray. Yeah, so it's just doing different things. We can always add, add another drop of that on there. We can move it around. You can also use brushes, right? So, whew, where did that go? So this is one of my new brushes that I got, and let's see, I'm going to, is this going to work? Well, let's just see what happens. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour, I'm going to pour a little bit of alcohol, and now I wish I had, let's just see if I can drop a bit there, so you can see I've got some just on my plate, and I'm going to put it onto here, onto the brush. And so now if I draw little bits, you can see it starts to interact a little bit too, thins it out, spreads it, like causes it to spread out, right? So if I take this part here where I've put the color, oops, just by putting it right in the middle, I caused it to sort of react, right? But we can bring out all of these and make a little whatever thing. So you can draw to some extent with the brush. It's not going to give you like a perfect color, but it can give you, depending on what effects you want. That would be really nice, I think, for making some sort of flower. It's a really nice color too. And of course, I mean, I wouldn't leave something like this, right? So I'm gonna grab all of this up before I think it's pretty much dried, but and then, oh, see, there I go spilling things again. I'm gonna grab this, and I'm just a weirdo. I'm just gonna use some alcohol to clean my brush real quick, and I just pour it on and sort of, this may or may not be the right way to do it, but That's the way that I do it, and it wastes a lot of alcohol, but there you go. So I just want to make sure that I get as much of the color off of my brush as I can, and just because it doesn't show anything doesn't mean it's clean, because if I put more alcohol on, all right, now that looks like it's pretty clean. I'm gonna leave that. But once again, you know, not wanting to leave it like this, I can start playing around. I can put some more alcohol on. I can put a drop of another color in there, play around with that, see what it's gonna do. I can have a swirly thing on here. La la la. It's really just stop knocking things over. Holy moly. At this point, I'm just trying to get it to, I don't know, be something that I like, which, you know, may not happen this time around at all. Or maybe it will. Probably not. But let me move this. But, and you'd be surprised too, some of the things that you think are just absolutely horrid. You show it to somebody else and they may be like, wow, that's really cool. Can I get a copy? And yeah, art is subjective, right? I definitely need to cover up this thingy here, though. It's driving me crazy. Yeah, I really like this brush for this hair blower thing. So let's, yeah, we're just going to call this one big mess. And for the sake of it not being all by itself, I'm going to add a bit of yellow here and a bit of yellow here. Okay. So that that green doesn't get stuck all by itself. And squirt that out a bit. Let's maybe make this go over here. Whatever. And you know, you don't have to stick to one thing either. Just because we did it this way here doesn't mean I can't take another felt, throw some more color on, or some blender. You know, let's see what happens if, did we put blender on this one? We didn't yet. So let's just use alcohol, and I'm gonna put like a couple drops there, a couple drops there, and a couple drops there. So it's not like a whole circle. And just gonna sort of stamp and see what happens. So you can kind of see how it's reacting. It's hard to see completely because of the dark colors, but you can see we're starting to have some reactions to the alcohol that's on here. And you know, that fading part's pretty cool. I like that. Even give it like a twist or whatever. And now, you know, now I've even got more, I've picked up some alcohol. So if we stamp that, it's very light, but you can see we could stamp something else with it. I'm gonna grab like this pink and put some color on there and throw that on in a couple of places and just sort of see what's gonna happen, including right there. See, now you can't tell that I had that funny tree looking thing. And then, and you can see how this is reacting with all the bits of alcohol that were in there before. And I'm going to throw some more alcohol on here, kind of make it a whole big thing. I don't know. Apparently, I'm not good at sticking these on. Let's see. So yeah, and then yeah. You know, I could always take that and put it. But right now, this just looks like a big mess. Luckily, these colors kind of blend together somewhat well. But keep in mind, if you're going to blend a lot of colors and they're not necessarily complementary colors, you could end up with a pile of mud. But sometimes that's the look that you want to go for. So that's totally cool too. Another thing that I was thinking about showing you, but then I didn't take anything out for it, is the alcohol lift. So let's see, let's let this one dry a bit. Still You see it's still got a little bit, like the thicker the alcohol ink concentration in one place, the longer it does take to fully dry properly. But we do have this one that we did before, and you can actually see, I'm going to place this somewhere flat-ish. There. I don't know if you can see, but there's kind of almost a line here that you can see where I think that's where we either put some alcohol or had it come back on us, or who knows what. It's subtle. It doesn't matter. I'm going to show you the alcohol lift, but what am I going to show it with? All right, let's just give me 1 second, and I'm going to go grab a snack. All right, I don't actually have any rubber stamps yet, but you can use rubber stamps for sure. You can also use stencils, or you can use different items. Like these are just sort of wood things that I got at the dollar store. So this is something I could use. Let's see here. It's pretty shape. Let's use this one. It's easier to see. Okay, so what we can do with this is we've got the alcohol lift ink, and we can, I should have grabbed my alcohol pad too. Oh, let's just use this. No, we'll just use one of these. Only let's try to stick it on a little bit better. All right, that feels a little more secure than what I've been doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this alcohol lift ink, and I'm going to squirt it in here quite a bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this to this shape that I have here. And I just want to make sure that I get the whole thing as best I can, because I want the whole shape. I think that's good. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this, let's say here, and this may not work. I'm going to do it here because there's a bit more better ink. This may not work super well because of all the other things we've done to this, but we'll see. So if I drop this down, I'm just going to hold it for a second. You don't have to hold it for too long really, but I just want to make sure we have contact there with the paper, and then I'm going to just lift it right up. Now you'll see there's not really any ink on here. There's a touch, and you can see there's kind of something happening there, but what we need to do next is take paper towel or cotton, and actually I'm just going to hold it up so you can see there's like the pattern happening there. What we're going to do now is we're going to just dab where this was, and yeah, it's definitely not working 100%. Also because there's multiple layers and a bunch of other different reasons. But we're going to dab that to start. You can see some of the ink has come up. Not a whole lot. We're going to let it make sure it's dry. I think it is. And then we're going to wipe away. And no, this was a bit of a failed experiment. It is kind of wiping away, but you can see I mostly just got some blue up, which isn't really what we want. So let's see if, is this one dry enough yet? Okay, this one's dry. And see, now I'm starting to kind of like it. We're going to, let's do something using a stencil and something a little bit thicker so that we know we're getting it okay. Alright, I got these stencils from the dollar store. They're, I guess, kid stencils, but they're kind of really cute. So we've got some beach ones, that doesn't feel right. Some holiday ones, that could work. Ooh, here's one that's got some, that might be a good contender. Some transportation. We've got letters we could stencil onto here, both big and small. We've got some farm animals and some just general shapes. I think I'm going to use the weather one. I haven't used these yet either, so we're all learning together. And I think what I'm going to do, and these actually, they have a lip here, so I'm going to make sure I put it down this way or it's not going to work very well. I'm going to do the, do I want to do the moon or the cloud? I feel like the cloud's kind of cool, but I don't think I'll get all those raindrops in there properly. So let's just do some wind and see what happens. This is really thick. I don't know if this is going to work. Yeah, this looks like it might be too thick. So what I'm going to do instead is I have these just flat stencils. So let's just, for the sake of trying, we'll do this one here. So what I'm going to do, and this time I'm going to use one of these. No, I'm going to go get that stamp pad that I mentioned. Alright, so here's the stamp pad. And I can use my alcoholic bottle to reapply more ink or more lift ink, sorry, to this as well. So let me see. That is in there. And so this has this lift ink in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this down onto the stencil, try to get that lift ink in there, and lift that up. And we may give this 2 goes just in case this doesn't totally work. But let's try. Let's see. Can I tell that it's there? Nope, not really. But let's just try. Where did that cotton pad go? There's the new one. What did I do with the old one? Whew, you'd think on a small table I wouldn't lose things, but here we are, losing things. Oh well, I'll just use this one. I don't think we've got a lot on there, so let's see if any of it actually. No, I don't think. I'm going to say that did not work. So let's douse this. Let's put this back on. So, oops, something happened there. I accidentally put some stuff on. Let's see, clean that up there. All right, so I'm gonna squirt this onto here, get that in there real good, and then I'm going to again apply this by stamping it in to there, making sure we get all of the little bits. And I think I can see it doing its magic now. So let's see. I don't know, maybe it just does not want to work. Let's just give it a try. Maybe some of it. No, something's just not working right here. And if these cotton pads are not great. Let's just use one of these felts. Yeah. Yet another failed experiment for me with lift ink. I'm just going to show you. Check this out. I'm just going to put some, I'm going to squeeze some right on here. It's way more than we need. I'm going to blow it around too, see if that does anything. When in doubt, experiment. Ooh. All right, let's see what happens. If we try to, I'm going to use, no, the cotton just does not like me. It's going to stick there. So I'm going to use this paper towel, just going to dump straight down and keep doing that till I kind of got liquid part mostly up. Just trying to see. I think, of course, we put way too much this time. And it's not really, I mean, you can kind of see how it's coming off there, but I think this one is just a pure bust. One day, maybe on camera, I will master the alcohol lifting. For now, though, I'm going to put that aside. Or no, I'm not going to put that aside just yet. I want to show you, but first I just need to clean up just a bit. I want to show you the mixative and the alloy. So I think that was that lid. These was purple and one of these was blue. I don't know what it really matters. Is there a color in any of them? That one's the blue one. When in doubt, stick your finger in. So again, I just don't wanna, because we all know I'm clumsy and like to spill things. So I'm just gonna put all these lids on top. Okay, I think that's the alcohol lifting one. All right. So if we put, let's use this new alloy. So this is alloy and it's called Foundry. There's a couple of different colors. And as I've mentioned before, with these ones that have extra things in them, you want to shake them until you can hear that metal ball. And also just a little bit after, make sure that it's fully mixed up. And the reason is I call it gunk, but the stuff that is in there that you need to mix up, it sort of grabs the ball sticks in it. So when you can hear the ball, you know the ball is free, and that stuff is mostly loosened, and then also the ball helps to mix it up. So let's see what happens if we put 1, 2, and let's do a second one over here. So we've got this this alloy. We could add a bit of alcohol to it. Let's add alcohol to this one and see what happens. So you can see, oh, that's so cool. I don't know if you can tell, there's like little bits of silver that have come off here. But see how it's like forming itself back together again? So it likes to clump together. That's what this alloy does, as opposed to the mixative. And this is silver. So the mixative, when we put it down, ooh, it's a bit of a different color silver. If we put the alcohol on it, oops, that was 2 drops, but that's fine. You can see like it's kind of just, it's doing its thing, but it's, you can definitely see it reacting, but it's spreading the mixative, the silver part out. It's not clumping the same way. Like if I put yet another drop on here. So you can see how those two things behave differently. You get a little bit of that mixative effect in here, but mostly it tries to clump itself back together in groups. So, and we can separate some of it by blowing it out. If we blow this out, it just kind of all blows together, right? Blow this out, it'll blow it together and try to chunk back. So, I mean, we can separate it a bit. This isn't going to go too far, but... And we could also even, like, let's add some of the blending solution to this one. And you can see it's kind of trying to do something, but it's not doing a whole lot. And we could even add one of the alcohol inks in. So this one's got the, oops, I wanted to go in the middle more. See how it actually just totally covered that up. So the alloy definitely sits on top of the regular alcohol ink, whereas this, the alcohol ink will sit on top, and well, they kind of mix together, right? And if we go this one here too, that one doesn't have the alcohol in it, so it's not covering up quite as fast. But you can see how it reacts differently in different ways depending on what you've got. And if I cover this, so there's that purple. this one away, but yeah, we could throw some more alcohol on and really try to mix it in. So see how it's like clumped, right? And then those clumps are going to try to find their way back to each other, but we can try to keep them separate. Of course, this paper doesn't want to lay flat. If it's flat, they won't quite as easily go towards each other. We throw some in here. And so then it can just kind of make some pretty effects. Kind of like gilding, I guess. So yeah, I'll just hold this for a second and let some of this alcohol dry up a little bit, because there's a lot on there. If I try to pick this up, everything's gonna swoop down to one place and go off the page. Or what it sometimes will do is once it hits the edge of the page, it starts to flow back onto the page. So that's one of the reasons why we use paper towels sometimes along the edges. So I think that's almost, that big clump right there is still moving quite a bit. Maybe I'll, oops, yeah, see, I don't want it to do that. Let's see what we can do. Can we, will that hold it? Nope. Maybe we'll just hold it with some bottles. Ta-da! All right. Now my bottles will get wrecked. Not wrecked, but dirty. So the last thing I want to do before I sign off is show you the pearls. And the pearls are pretty cool, and you can, it's recommended, I mean, you can use anything however you want, right? But one of the things that the pearls do, oh, and one of my colors I pulled out is pearl. I lost a pearl. Oh, I think that's this one here. One of the things that the pearls do is they sort of add some dimension into your picture. So if you combine them with the regular ones, because then you have pearl and not pearl. If you have everything pearl, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's not, it's going to have a different effect than having some pearl, some not. So I, of course, got a purple pearl, and I like the teal, go with the purple, and I liked these, the pink. So we've got Intrigue and Tranquil and Villainous, which, what a great color name. So I am going to, I'm going to start with Intrigue. And you can tell too, like Tranquil looks a lot like Aquamarine, and it's quite possible, actually let's do that first. It's quite possible they are very, very much the same color when you drop them down. Oh, I didn't clean my space. That's okay. But one has the pearl, the other doesn't. So this, actually, let me do the regular one first. So Aquamarine. So that's the Aquamarine. And this is, oh, my bad, I forgot. These are just like those metal ones. You need to shake them up because it's got some additive in, which you can actually kind of see the pearl coloring in there. And you can get, like, you can sort of pearlize with white, any color that you want, but it'll have white. This actually has like a bluish tint to the pearl already. So I want to see how it doesn't always sound like, we can tell too, there's still lots of gunk at the bottom there. That's sounding better. It's not quite better. All right. Close enough. Tim recommended, if you know what you're going to use, take it out, put it on its side. It helps it to sort of spread out and be easier to shake up once you're ready. But so that's the Aquamarine, and this is the Tranquil. Okay, they're not exactly the same color. See, it's very, of course, now that we've shaken it, it actually does look quite different color-wise. But that's because of the pearl in there. So I think it probably starts off very similar. You can see it's actually spreading differently as well, because I think that was just one drop. Maybe it was two, but this was definitely 2 drops. Let's see what else. Let's throw a purple. Actually, let's just see if we move it around. Make that spread out a bit. I don't know if you can see as I move the paper around how it's got like a very different look than the regular one, which is just flat. Like it definitely has this pearlescent look happening. So if we take Villainous, and again, forgot to shake them. So I'm gonna shake. Where'd that other one go? Intrigue. And something cool that they've done too, which you can't see, but I'm gonna tell you because it's a feel. I mean, you can see how these have black lettering versus these are white. I don't know if that's 100% just. I think it is. All of the regular ones have white lettering, but the other thing is, this is a very smooth, glossy finish on this wrap. This wrap has more of a matte, kind of pearlescent-y kind of feel to it, so you can feel the difference in these bottles as well. So I'm going to shake both of these up at the same time, and it sounds like we might use pink first. Nope, we're still going to go with Villainous first. All right, so that's what I dropped down before I remembered to shake it. So let's put a drop there of actually shaking it, so it's a bit darker now, interestingly. And let's throw in some of this Intrigue. So there we go. Just for extra fun, let's put down some Purple Twilight, which is similar but not quite. So that's a purple. It's just flat. And I don't think well, let's try this Flamingo that I've got here. I have no clue how this is going to look yet, but we're going to find out. And let's do a drop of that, put right there. Oh yeah, that's flamingo-y. Not exactly what I was looking for, but that's okay. So there we have 2 pearls, 3 pearls, and 3 non-pearls. And you can tell the non-pearls, they expand by themselves into just a circle, whereas the non-pearls, they don't quite expand out on their own. And you can see now that blue has kind of finished drying, you can see how it's, I hope you can see how it's got that shiny effect. And so if we take those kind of colors, and let's use another felt. So I'm going to, let's see here, I'll put some of the Tranquil on. Right, a little bit of that. A little bit of the Aquamarine that doesn't have the pearl in it. The Villainous, which we know is the pearl. And see, I mean, even just squirting this, I wanted to have a circle of that, and I didn't get it. So that's just how it goes with alcohol ink. Let's put some of this on right in the middle. And I guess I should put, what have we got? That's the Intrigue. I'm putting all of these colors on here again, just so that we've got something. Maybe I should have used the rectangle one for this. It's got more working space in it, and I'll get that flamingo back out. All right. And now we're just gonna go stamp crazy. Step over some of these. And I'm not the way to the edge on this one. And of course, we don't want it to look like we only did it one way. And now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to spray it. Let's see what happens. So you can tell right there, you can see how some of the colors have blended together to make sort of a mucky color or whatever, but you can definitely tell that the alcohol has been applied. It's activating some of that coloring a little bit. It's probably not enough for it to start swooshing around. But, and I don't know if you can see how even just having like that pattern of the circles and the pearl, some of the colors of pearl, some of them don't, and it kind of just adds a bit of depth to the picture. So yeah, let's throw, just for fun, I'm going to throw a bit of purple on here and just a little bit of alcohol. Let's sort of see what we get. I'm going to move it around a bit. So neat, as I move it around I can see the pearl on the other pieces, and the pearl sort of starts to shine through this as well actually. So for right now I'm pretty much just playing with things, getting used to how they work, how to manipulate them. But, yeah, so that's that drying. And now that we've got, this is kind of dried more, you can see that one over there. And knock some things over again. Okay, I have a lid and nothing that needs a lid. This is disturbing. What have I done? Is there something there? Okay, so you can see I have this lid here. This is a lid, this is a lid, this, there's nothing here with no, oh, I know what it's for. It's for the blending solution. It looks, oh, it's bigger, but it looks similar to the other ones, so I got a little confused. Anyways, back to here. This is dry now, so you can see how the silver parts for the alloy, how they've clumped together, even along edges there, right? So this is how you can create really neat pieces with some just sort of metal looking bits in them. And let's just see if we can reactivate this chunk here and blow it around a bit. So taking my alcohol, I'm just going to drop a couple. And so you can see it is kind of reacting, kind of more, it's bringing up the color from below it too. But I can shift this a little bit. So it's taking some of that metal. And see how it's like sucking it all right back in. So what if we threw another bit of part? No, let's go green. Right in the middle there. See how that's totally not the middle, as I was saying, right in the middle. Oh, I do. And throw some alcohol in there as well. So now it's getting some good spread action. Let's see, go that way a bit. And I've been told this is, you know, you just do little squirts, but I like sometimes getting a bit of a splatter effect by having a bigger squirt. Anyways, so that's that. This is kind of starting to look neat. See, as I play with it and keep adding to it, like before it was a write-off, and now I'm like, oh, it's kind of not too bad. And I'll probably play with it some more at some point, or who knows, maybe I won't. But just again, looking at this one now that it's a bit more dry, that pearl is it's definitely, I can see it. I don't know if you can see it, but it's definitely happening there. Definitely got the pearl. And it's where there's pearl and not pearl, like it mixes to some extent, but then, you know, there's some places that don't have the pearl and it just makes it a little bit extra special. So that's, I think, it for today. So we did 3 things. Nothing that I would call complete necessarily, but this is definitely something I could maybe see doing using as a background, doing some doodling on or drawing something on. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe next time I'll have the difference between this and the Yupo. But anyways, thank you for coming out.